about a lot is leadership, actually, because leadership goes two ways. Leadership is really the coach running the team, and then of course for the coach, the leadership above him gives him opportunities to be a better coach, whether it be an athletic director or a school principal or administration or clubs or fans or support groups. There's leadership at all levels, but right now I'm talking about leadership mostly from the coach, from the athlete. So, right now I'm talking to you. This was my team. I just want you to know, I'm really only valuable to you if I can get across information that I know, that I believe in, that I'm proven with, if I can get it in your head. That's real crucial. So by the time I've had you for a long time as my coach, as my wrestler, my student, you should be knowing what I know. So this leadership goes on to you, and you need to know independently what you need to know. Practices are kind of broken down into different phases. I call them independent practices. I call them dependent practices. Most practices are a combination of dependent and independent. For an example, if I'm a good coach, over time, you guys are going to be able to run the show. And so it's called independence. It's called independence. Because you're the one that's wrestling. Coaches, these are the guys that's won the wrestling. If they don't know what you know, you haven't done justice to them. They should know that. But you're still valuable because kids are coming in all the time and they're beginners and they're there. And there's just certain personalities that sometimes some need more dependence. And usually once I get to a really good team, a proven good team by results, not just what I think is a good team, because they're, boom, we're all back, all 10 All-Americans or 9 All-Americans, 10 All-Americans, there's probably going to be a little bit more independent, knowing what they do, but they also need a coach. Don't ever think you don't need a coach. You may become so good that you're 98% of what goes on, and I'm only 2%. I love that. That's perfect. I've just got to get that little edge on you guys. So when it comes down to the end of practice, the last 15, I tell them one more go. Probably, like 7-minute match, 6-minute match, one more 6-minute match, one more 6-minute period, whatever it is. Realizing that you're already shot, I'm going to step in verbally, push you through that 6 minutes. And that 6 minutes will never be 6 minutes. Might be longer. And you'll start complaining. But that's what I'm there for. And you might be complaining, but you're still knowing that when you leave, that you want to walk out that door with a good ending, with a lot of scoring. Some of my best practices were the last go of the practice. And that last go, it motivated me so much in practice that last go lasted a long time. Because they knew that they were done, and they wanted to walk out the door feeling good about themselves, so they got the most out of themselves. So they hit more scoring opportunities when they thought there was 3 minutes to go than the whole rest of the practice. It just so happens after the 3 minutes, after 4 minutes, they'd be looking at me like, when's practice over? But yet, hey, you're entertaining me, guys. You're getting a lot accomplished. You got a whole bunch accomplished before in the last hour and a half, but you're right now getting an hour and a half in 10 minutes or 15 minutes because of knowing it's done. So that's part of coaching. That's part of coaching, realizing when these kids are hitting their moves, scoring, and entertaining, and they're working at such a level of pain, but they're fighting through it. They're fighting through it. So they've been there before. And, that's real critical. That's real critical. It's about leadership. So instead of being one leader, all these guys are leaders too. And obviously, it doesn't start just automatic. It starts with somebody, and then you rub off, and then you get two more, and all of a sudden, everybody, even the worst guy in the room from leadership skills, has some leadership. And that's real crucial. Not only for wrestling, but for when they leave and go become parents, family, profession. Everybody is going to contribute to that team victory, to that team, and forever. It's not just those 5-6 years. That's why I'm saying, I got right now people calling me, and you know, it's like people that still need that 1%, 2%, or maybe the 98, and they're the 2, but it's some of them, it's just everybody's a little bit different, but hopefully you change that. So, every week you have, I go back 365 days a year as a coach, and I go back, I start at the NCAA tournament the next year. I write down on a calendar, Saturday night, 10 champion. That's what I write. Then I make my schedule up from there. The day before, the day before, the day before, the day before, the day before. It takes a while. Instead of actually writing out every practice, I do it more like, okay, so independent day, dependent day, technique day, just condition day. You know, it's just one of those things that you can kind of get through the thing. And as an athlete, you can do that as well, even though I know that some of you might not have to do that as much. But anyway, so leadership. It's about being the first one there, the last to leave, about being the hardest worker, and over time, adding the smartest as well. And let me tell you about being smart. We in wrestling, we always haven't been as smart as we should be. So we go back 30 years, and all of a sudden there was a Title IX law that came into effect. We kind of tried to battle that Title IX for some reason. Instead of really understanding what it really meant, and we should have joined forces. You got to know how to win battles. So, for example, in wrestling right now, we got some battles coming up. There's football, basketball, equivalent female scholarships that are going to be worth $4,000 to $5,000 a piece, more. I don't know if you know that. You're going to up the amount of money. And so, where's the money going to come from? Well, we better figure out how to add more money, get more independent. We better start actually supporting our own program more and more and more, because otherwise we're going to wait, they're going to cut some programs. So I see we're also, like Title IX is going to go down into high schools now. Hey, not again, I got 4 daughters. It should be there, but we got to figure out how to make it work instead of trying to battle something that's a losing battle. And that's real critical. So that's where smartness comes in. So, for example, if somebody comes up to you and they talk to you and you say, "I don't have the time to do that. I don't want to do that." If it's an important issue, let me tell you, if you're a good leader, you find the time, and it doesn't have to be your time. You got to learn how to delegate. I'm dealing with a coach in Oklahoma right now, and all of a sudden, just in conversation through text, I suggested a couple things. "Oh, I didn't think of that. I didn't think of that." He said, "You know, sometimes I take on too much of my own role. Yeah, I can find somebody to help this kid away from the program." You got to be smart about that. And so it's real critical that heads of companies, coaches, head coaches, when there's something there that's very valuable, got to be smart. And as a wrestler, besides just being the hardest worker, you got to get smart. I always say this. I wrestled 181 matches. I was the hardest working guy in the room. And lost. And then I got good. And I got good because I added the word smart to it from then on. Did more analyzing. Did more critiquing where you need to be good. Analyzed that, yeah, I stick my arm in too deep in a fire underhook, and yeah, I got fireman's carried in the Olympic trials once in '68 when I was a younger kid, and then in the national finals, after 7 years later, I stuck my arm in too good. I got fireman's carried, but it was like barely got it, just barely got it. So I was a little bit better, and then all of a sudden, I learned to not stick my arm in so deep. And then in practice, somebody fireman's carried me. I'd go right back in there and stick that arm in. Pretty soon, it gets shallower. Pretty soon, I'd learn some situations, how to clear it. So then the next time I wrestled somebody good where I stuck the arm in and went for a fireman's carry, I whipped him over and pinned him. I like in the Olympic trials, or the same guy that fireman's carried me, that type of thing. But right away, I got beat on something, I went right back to it. Went right back to it. All right, now there's an exception. It's when the NCAA instituted rules tests for coaches because they have compliance officers. Compliance officers actually look over your shoulders, and they can be a pain in the butt. But if they think you know more than them, or just as much as them, just like I'm talking about right now, they'll leave you alone. So we had to go in and take a test.